All right, welcome everyone to our November 15th Community Redevelopment Agency meeting that we are having first. So we are meeting not as the commission, but the Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. I'm just looking into the audience to see if there's any citizen input for the CRA today. I don't see any residents that aren't city staff in the building. Am I missing anybody? No? Okay. And we'll move on to Community Redevelopment Agency Budget Amendment Resolution 2202. Nikki, would you please read that resolution by title only?
Absolutely, Mayor. Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA Resolution 2204, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dunedin, Florida, as the governing body of the City of Dunedin Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA, amending the operating and capital budget for the CRA for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2021, and ending September 30th, 2022, and providing for an effective date hereof.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Franny and Vice Mayor Kynes. All right, Les and Bob.
Mayor Bob Ironsmith, Economic Development Director. Obviously, this is for the final budget adjustment for fiscal year 22. We have Les and Ashley here, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And Les certainly is ready to talk a little bit about it, so I want to steal his thunder either relative to the budget amendment.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Welcome, Les.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Les Tyler, the Finance Director, and I'm here with Ashley Kempton, our Budget Manager. I'll just make a few comments. We have two budget amendments for our final BA for the CRA fund. The proposed amendments are on page 2 of the staffing report. The total dollar impact in the CRA fund is $44,361, and that's an increase in fund balance. The first amendment is a reclassification of revenue and expenses for city leases impacted by the implementation of GASB 87. We discussed GASB 87 some back a few months ago when we were adopting our 23 budget. We went through the impacts of the 23 budget with GASB 87, but GASB 87 is a new statement that requires us to change the accounting for some of our leases in the city, and basically it's recognizing certain lease assets and liabilities that were previously reported as operating leases as assets and liabilities of the city. The impact in the 22 budget for the CRA fund is an increase in debt expense of $123,217 and a decrease to rent expense budget of $167,578. And this results in a net increase in fund balance of $44,361 in the CRA fund. And the second budget amendment, and the last one, is we are having a reclassification of $400,000 for the City of Dunedin contribution to the Skinner Boulevard project. This fiscal year 22, this was included in our fiscal year 22 budget for Skinner Boulevard project as professional services. That was the line item we used. But a more accurate budget, we feel, is aid to other government agencies. So we're proposing we just reclass that expense from one to the other. We think it's more accurate. And there's no net impact to fund balance for this. It's just an accounting reclass. And I want to mention the Skinner Boulevard project expense was approved as part of the fiscal year 22 budget, and that was approved by Commission back on September 23rd, 2021, item 1A. And one other comment is just that on the last page of the staffing, we always show the fund balance impact of the budget amendments. And for the CRA fund, after taking into consideration this amendment, which is a $44,361 amendment, our projected fund balance in the CRA fund for 2022 is $198,655 and above our reserve goal. So that covers our comments, and any questions, happy to answer them.
20.7%, so that's good.
Right, 20.7.
And I did want to just say before I open up for questions, how much, and I believe it was Commissioner Gao that brought forward the idea, but, oh, I forgot my earrings today. That's weird. Sorry.
Shall we adjourn?
No. No, I mean, this is because I always play with them when I talk. Sorry. It's just a thing. But Commissioner Gao brought this idea forward, but whenever you do the explanation of the different amendments and you show us when we talked about it and when we approved it, I so appreciate that because it just brings it all back and puts it all sort of wrapping it in a bow. So Commissioner Gal, thank you for asking for that, and thank you for continuing to do it, because we have a big budget amendment later, and that was really helpful. So, anyway, questions for our staff?
Just this.
Questions or comments, either one, doesn't matter.
No, it's not even a comment. This is a real question. Can you explain, because we have this new GASB 87, can you just, because we're going to see it in the next thing too, so just explain it, please?
Yeah, it's a new requirement that to implement in 2022, this year, for all cities actually in the country. And basically, they're changing the classification of leases, and they want, if you have for instance, we have a lease with Monroe Parking Garage, and that's part of what this adjustment is here. We have the lease from Monroe Parking Garage. In the past, that's just been paying rent expense every year, and that's it in the operating statement. Now they're requiring that to change to showing that as a long-term liability over the life of that lease. That lease expires, I believe, in September 2034. So now we're having to show that as a liability and track that every year, and then every year we will have amortize on one side, and then also have a calculation for debt service payments every year. So basically, they're wanting us to put the leases as an asset, an intangible asset. It's not a capital asset; it's an intangible asset, and they wanted us to recognize them as assets and liabilities, which before that wasn't the case.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Doesn't make sense.
Anything, Joe?
Any other examples in the CRA other than that one?
Well, in the city budget amendment, you'll see it impacts a lot of funds, and the copier leases apply. So it's throughout the funds because the copier leases are having to be handled the same way.
Was it all based on the length of the contract you've signed for how many years?
Yes, it's linked to the contract. It's the language in the lease. If the lease is less than a year, it does not apply. If it's over a year, then it could be subject. But most of ours are the Monroe Garage. Also, our parking leases fall into this too. Some of them are the parking leases.
That's what I wondered, because some of them are multi-year. So just because they're multi-year,
Yeah, they're multi-year, and I think, excuse me, Les, looking more to capitalize these leases, aren't they looking at that a little differently than just
Yeah,
a straight to?
I wouldn't say capitalized only because it's an intangible asset.
Right.
That's the only reason I say that, but still, it's amortization is kind of the same thing as depreciation for an intangible asset. So sort of the same
makes sense.
thing.
Yeah, multi-years on leases, certainly. Yep.
yeah, makes sense. Okay, no, thank you.
Good questions, yeah.
Commissioner Torga, anything?
I have no questions.
Okay, any public comment or input? Don't see any public here, so come back to the commission, maker of the motion. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, obviously, this is kind of a housekeeping issue in general. I mean, the Gatsby 87 thing seems logical, so, which isn't always the case, so it's good. No, that's it.
Same for you?
Nothing further.
Anything?
Thank you.
Anything? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Gal?
Aye.
Commissioner Torga?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kynes?
Aye.
Commissioner Franny?
Aye.
And Mayor Bujalski?
All right, that motion passes unanimously. Bob, anything else that you want to talk about today for the CRA?
Certainly, the crosswalk is being constructed there on Douglas. That's the LED crosswalk that's CRA approved, so that's in process right now. So we're excited about getting that going.
When's it going to happen?
It's on construction now. So we hope to get done before Thanksgiving. So that's the plan.
Should it say Deborah across the side?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, what
The
DK?
lights
DK.
and the thing.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. You have DK right there.
Just teasing.
And DOT's picking up the pace a little bit on Skinner, which is a good thing. That's at $400,000 that we had in there as professional services, unless it got reclassified to aid to private organizations. So things are good. So we're moving, and we just got approval, although it's outside the CRA, for Patricia Avenue. That's that landscape median that the commission approved. We just got DOT approval, so we're excited about that. So we're picking up speed,
Great.
which is good. Yep.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, if nothing else, we will adjourn and pick up our regular commission meeting in a minute or so.
Do we have to move to adjourn?